Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel, All Things Taylor, with yours truly, just in time for Q&A Wednesday. I apologize for my laid back appearance. I just came in from gardening all day and I was like, I've got to do a Q&A Wednesday. So a quick awesome shout out to all of the new followers on my channel. You guys are in for a wild ride with Q&A Wednesdays, some motivational Mondays, an occasional fun fact Friday, some wrestling clips from my podcast talks with Taeler Hendrix, and so much more, including my little cooking show, Taylor's Tiny Kitchen, and just so much more. So let's get right down to today's wicked Q&A Wednesday. I was super stoked because a lot of the questions had nothing to do with wrestling, so we are branching out, y'all. I am very excited. A Boston girl saying y'all, that's just hilarious to me, so let's just take a moment and appreciate that. Okay, so the first question was really cool. It has to do with the CW. Someone asked me, do I like the show Supernatural, and what character do I feel like I am or relate to the most? So first off, I grew up in a haunted house, and I grew up with like a mom who was, pagan. So I happen to love the show Supernatural. Like a lot of the stuff I grew up with hearing about or experiencing, like I saw on that show. So I really identified with that. And as far as characters, I would say I'm a combination of Castiel and Dean Winchester. And the reason for that is because I have a very dry, crass sense of humor, but I also don't pick up on a lot of social cues. So I'm kind of a socially awkward but friendly person. And I can feel and identify with, having to understand what life is after you realize that everything you ever thought around you is not what it appeared to be. So I really genuinely relate to Castiel and, his sense of always trying to do the right thing, even if it doesn't look like the right thing, and just trying to do good in the world and stuff like that. Like, I really genuinely identify with Castiel on so many levels. He's actually one of my favorite characters in the entire show. And then for Dean Winchester, I relate to kind of his like in your face type of personality, because being from the, Massachusetts, upper east, lower east coast or whatnot, I have a very in your face personality while at the same time being awkward and yet friendly. So I'm a very like sort of versatile sort of person in that regard. And I also fiercely advocate for my family and trying to do the right thing. And also at the same time, I'm the oldest of all the siblings. So I identify with his struggle and how his life was drastically different from Sam's, and how he was raised was different, and the memories he has and how he approaches the world is different because of that. I very much identify with that. So I think I have a lot of characteristics that are very reminiscent of a combination of Dean Winchester and Castiel. I always strive to, do the right thing, whether or not it's it doesn't matter if it's trending or if it's easy. To me, if it's the right thing, and then it's the right thing to do. And I fiercely defend the people that I love. And, I had a very hard, no nonsense sort of upbringing, very similar to Dean. And I had a lot of very responsibility that maybe, shouldn't be put on kids at such a young age. So I very much identified with that as well. And I really identified with just like the awkward sense of not understanding things the way that they were meant to be understood, like Castiel and stuff. So I think I'm very much a combination of those two. For so many more reasons than I can even explain in this Q&A, but I didn't want to take all the time on that one question. But that was really good. I definitely feel like I am definitely a Dean mixed with Castiel, for sure. Like, there's not even a doubt in my mind. So, yeah. Do I have a favorite Marvel or DC character, and if so, why? Okay, I love comic books. I started collecting them later in life. Like, I have the first appearance of Poison Ivy and Batman 181, and I think there's like pictures of it somewhere. So that would be really cool if I ended up being like Poison Ivy for DC Comics or something. I can be like the new age one and stuff. But for me, one of my all-time favorite female characters, I'm kind of sad to say it now. I've said it prior and a couple years ago, I think. But now, because it's so mainstream and cool, I'm like the opposite hipster me is like, but I also really love it because the actress is really killing it. One of my all-time favorites is the Scarlet Witch. I always felt she was highly underrated, being the daughter of Magneto, and just her power is just so immense and untapped at times. And I thought it would be really cool to just the fact that she can create her own alternate realities and stuff like that, I just always thought that was so cool, because you can basically be living your best life however you want and have everybody that you know doing whatever it is that you want, because that's your power. I just think that would be really cool. So I could create my own dream world, like I don't know. So, but I've always, I love a lot of different characters, but one of them was always the Scarlet Witch, Wanda Maximoff. So getting to see her get her due with, you know, being WandaVision on Disney Plus is just really awesome. She's finally getting like more credit and stuff. It's really cool. I also was just a really huge fan of Captain America. He's one of my all-time favorite heroes. Very love it. So I cannot wait to actually be able to sit down and enjoy Falcon and the Winter Soldier, because I'm super stoked about that. I really love the Captain America movies. I'm very interested in, you know, World War II, and I read all about that kind of stuff. So really into Captain America. I would say as far as like branding and actual issues and things like that, and storylines and alternate universes, I would definitely have to say I probably super love X-Men, just because of all of the different, you know, origin stories and backgrounds and powers. I just am very fascinated by that. I really loved, you know, how they were able to take away all the bad stuff that they did with one of the X movies, when they and how they were able to take it away was by doing the amazing job with X-Men Days of Future Past, and it pretty much erased all the bad stuff that like super diehard comic fans hated, and I don't blame them. And so it was really cool, like how they did X-Men Days of Future Past was awesome. So I'm definitely like a huge X-Men fan. And then I really love just the stuff that's done with like the Injustice League versus the Justice League and stuff. And any Taylor fan knows that I'm a huge fan of the show Young Justice. You know, you have Ms. Martian and Nightwing, and it's so cool. You got Aqualad, and it's just so awesome. So yeah, I could talk about that a lot. I'm not like a huge expert or anything, but I know enough. Someone said that they would love to hear more about me growing up in a haunted house. I've told several stories on my YouTube channel, and I labeled them Growing Up Haunted, because legit I grew up in a bona fide New England haunted house in Massachusetts. It was nuts. Everybody had experiences in the house, from my siblings to some of my cousins to my mother, myself. So quite a few of my stories could be corroborated. It was just nuts, like smoke alarms going on and off, things disappearing and you not being able to find them, ghost friend who lived in the cellar, a radio, one of the rooms had a, whenever you would turn on the radio, if you were playing a genre of music that someone apparently didn't like it changed the radio station, and it was always to the same, it wasn't always to the same station, but it was always to like the same genre of music, so it was like super creepy. Floorboards creaking, but you weren't stepping on them or hadn't stepped on them. You know, the balloon story that I've told you guys on here was nuts. There's just so many crazy things that went on in that house. Like, it was crazy. When we learned a little bit more about the house, we learned that there's just so many crazy things. The house was built in 1912. So there's Slinky. Any scary movies I like to watch? I love the Conjuring movies. I love The Exorcist. Thank you, Slinky. There's just so many different kinds of movies, so I could do a whole video on that if you guys would like. I loved it. I loved a lot of the stuff based around Stephen King. I watched Hellraiser. I watched, you know, the Freddy movies. I watched Halloween. I loved Rob Zombie movies, especially like The Devil's Rejects and things like that. But I really loved like paranormal type of movies. That stuff was really my jam, especially because, you know, growing up in a haunted house. And someone, because I mentioned in one of my last Q&A, because Scooby-Doo made her surprise appearance, and I talked about her being a rescue, and that's not really something I talk about. I just do it because, you know, when you do something, you're not doing it necessarily for attention. You're just doing it because you feel like you want to and it's the right thing to do. And so rescuing animals and helping animals has been something that I grew up doing. Even when my family didn't have a lot of money, we still found ways to volunteer at shelters or bring the occasional bag of food, and we would always try to adopt from shelters. So that's something I've always grown up doing, is, you know, adopting animals that needed homes, you know, not necessarily getting designer animals like a lot of people. So, you know, that's something that's always been very important to me, kind of giving back. And, you know, I think growing up as humble as we did, it had a very good impression in instilling values and things that are important. So helping animals is something I'm very passionate about. As some of my fans know, when I do celeb VM videos, or now I should say cameo, I take portions of those proceeds and buy things for no-kill shelters. And at one point when I was wrestling full time, you know, at Shimmer and all these other places, I would have fans bringing me sweatshirts and crayons and things, and I would turn the sweatshirts in and repurpose them into pet beds for no-kill shelters. And then what Slinky and I would do with the crayons is give them to preschools and other places that could use the crayons and make them into new crayons, or use them as if they were brand new. So doing charity endeavors and working with nonprofits and giving back to communities is something that my mother instilled in me and I've always been passionate about. So thank you so much for asking about that. I believe, you know, in just doing good. And, you know, little small acts of kindness, I believe, really do add up to something great. And that's one of the things that I try to do with animals, because I'm like, animals are just so amazing. You know, they just want your time and your love. And yeah, how can you not love that, you know? And that's what I get. Like, Slinky is a rescue dog. Scooby-Doo, she's a rescue dog. My cats are rescues. So just, to me, it's just, it's an amazing feeling to, you know, be the recipient of the love and the trust that they build, like, such an amazing bond with you guys. So that's what I just love. And I love being able to see the look on an animal's face when you give them a brand new bed or a toy, or they get to eat and, you know, have a nice roof over their head and feel protected in a loving home. There's just nothing quite like it. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode of Q&A Wednesday. Be sure to comment below with your questions to earn the chance to, not earn the chance, but get the chance to be on next week's Q&A Wednesday. Keep your questions coming, and I'll talk to you guys soon.